Weston stumbled down the gravel drive, backpack slung heavy over one shoulder, the weight of 17 years compressing into a single, sodden gasp. The neighborhood lights blurred into halos through the sheets of water, houses huddled like judgmental sentinels on the outskirts of Ballard, where evergreens whispered secrets to the wind. He had known this reckoning was coming, ever since that stolen kiss behind the high school bleachers with Jamie, the boy whose freckles mapped constellations Weston traced in stolen moments. But knowing did not soften the blade. His mother's tears, silent and streaming, had been the cruelest cut. No plea, no bridge extended across the chasm his confession had carved. He walked for miles that night, the Puget Sound's distant roar mocking his isolation, until the sodium glow of a 24-hour diner beckoned like a hesitant lifeline. Inside, the air smelled of burnt coffee and grease, a sanctuary of vinyl booths and waitresses who asked no questions. Weston ordered black coffee he could not afford, nursing it as his phone buzzed with ignored texts from friends who would soon drift away. Harlan's message came last. "Sorry, man. Dad's pissed. Room's mine now. Call when you're straight." The words twisted like a knife, not for the lie they implied, but for the ease with which his brother erased him. By dawn, the storm had ebbed to a drizzle, mirroring the hollow ache in Weston's chest. He crashed on a park bench near Golden Gardens, watching ferries slice through the mist toward Bainbridge Island, lives carrying on without fracture. Sleep came in fits, haunted by echoes of family dinners where laughter once flowed freely, now poisoned by the unspoken. When he woke, hunger gnawed sharper than regret. He pawned his grandfather's watch, a silver relic from Montana summers, for bus fare downtown, vowing silently that survival would be his rebellion. Seattle's pulse quickened as he descended into the city's heart, Pike Place Market alive with vendors hawking salmon and flowers, the air thick with salt and possibility. Weston blended into the throng, a ghost among tourists, his soaked clothes clinging like second skin. He found a youth shelter in Capitol Hill, a converted Victorian with creaky floors and bunk beds stacked like forgotten promises. There, amid the murmur of stories more broken than his, he claimed a narrow cot and a flicker of hope. The counselor, a wiry woman named Rita with tattoos snaking up her arms, handed him a pamphlet on LGBTQ resources, her eyes holding no pity, only the quiet solidarity of one who had walked similar shadows. Days blurred into a rhythm of job hunts and solitude. Weston landed shifts at a coffee shop near the University District, steaming lattes for co-eds who bantered about Foucault while he hid his own unraveling. The tips barely covered the hostel's fees, but the routine anchored him, wiping counters at closing, the hiss of the espresso machine a counterpoint to his racing thoughts. Nights, he sketched in a battered notebook, jagged lines of the space needle-piercing clouds, faces of strangers that morphed into Harlan's, accusatory and distant. One evening, as autumn leaves turned the streets to fire under sodium lamps, Weston met Elias. It was unremarkable at first. A spilled tray of pastries scattering across the floor, Elias kneeling to help with a sheepish grin that lit the dim shop like dawn breaking. Elias was 25, with warm brown skin inherited from Mexican roots in East LA. His black hair cropped close, eyes dark and searching like the ravines of the Cascades. He was a barista too, but at a rival spot down the block, moonlighting as a graphic designer for local bands. "Clumsy much?" Elias teased, his voice carrying the lilt of someone who had chased sunsets across states. Weston laughed, the sound foreign in his throat, and in that shared cleanup, a spark ignited. They talked until closing, Elias sharing stories of his abuela's tamales and the queer poetry slams in the Central District. Weston hesitated, then confessed fragments, the expulsion, the rain-soaked flight. Elias listened without flinching, his hand brushing Weston's in a gesture that said more than words. "You're not cast out," he murmured. "You're just starting the real map." Their first date was a walk along the waterfront, hands brushing as gulls wheeled overhead. Seattle's fog wrapped them like a secret, the Olympic Mountains looming as silent witnesses. Elias kissed him under the shadow of the Ferris wheel at dusk, tentative at first, then deepening with the promise of anchors in stormy seas. Weston felt the fracture in his soul mend, stitch by invisible stitch, as Elias's laughter became the soundtrack to his healing. Months passed in this fragile bloom. Weston moved into a cramped apartment in Fremont, trolls and indie trolls guarding the bridges, with Elias crashing on weekends. They built rituals. Sunday farmers markets for heirloom tomatoes, late-night drives to Alki Beach where bonfires crackled against the chill. But beneath the romance, shadows lingered. Weston's sketches grew darker, faces dissolving into rain, and dreams of Harlan's silence clawed at him. Elias noticed, pulling him close in the witching hours. "The past is a ghost," he said, tracing Weston's scar. "But you're flesh and fire now. Yet ghosts have long reaches." One crisp November morning, as Weston frothed milk for the rush, his phone lit with an unknown number. The voice on the line was Harlan's, roughened by years, laced with an urgency that stopped Weston's heart. "West? It's me. I'm in town. For good. We need to talk." The call ended abruptly, leaving Weston staring at the espresso machine's steam, the world tilting like a ship in fog. Harlan in Seattle, the brother who had taken his room, his place, now crashing back into his orbit. Elias found him later, slumped against the alley wall, and held him as the question spilled. Why now? What did he want? Forgiveness? Absolution? Weston agreed to meet at a neutral ground. A dive bar in Belltown, neon flickering over scarred wood. Harlan arrived early, broader than memory, his once boyish face etched with lines from construction gigs back home. He ordered whiskeys neat and slid one across. "Look, I know I fucked up. Dad's cancer came back. Stage 4. He asked for you before. Well, before he couldn't." The words landed like punches, each one bruising deeper. Weston gripped the glass, knuckles white, memories flooding. Hospital visits skipped, apologies unspoken. Harlan rambled on. About the family home sold, Mom retreating to a trailer in Spokane, his own divorce from a high school sweetheart that left him adrift. "I took the room because I was scared, West. Scared you'd steal the light like always. But I see it now, you were the brave one." Brave. The word hung, bitter as the burn down Weston's throat. They parted awkwardly, Harlan crashing on a buddy's couch, promising coffee soon. But soon stretched, and when it came, it was laced with barbs. Harlan critiqued Weston's job. "Slinging Joe? You were the artist." And eyed Elias with a skepticism that bordered on disdain. "He's intense," Harlan said one night over burgers at Dick's Drive-In, the neon casting red shadows. Weston bristled, defending the man who had rebuilt him brick by brick. Cracks widened. Harlan landed work on a site near the locks, his presence infiltrating Weston's world like damp rot. Elias welcomed him at first, cooking pozole that filled their apartment with spice, but tension simmered. Harlan's jokes turned edged, probing Weston's lifestyle with feigned curiosity that masked judgment. "You ever think about going back? Fixing things?" He'd ask, as if orientation were a kink to iron out. Winter clamped down, snow dusting the evergreens, mirroring the frost between brothers. Weston threw himself into a community art show, canvases ablaze with reclaimed narratives, queer saints in urban halos, rain-washed redemptions. Elias curated, his designs breathing life into posters plastered across Capitol Hill. The opening night buzzed with possibility, bodies swaying to synth-pop, champagne fizzing like hope. Harlan showed, uninvited, nursing a beer in the corner. His eyes tracked Weston across the room, where he stood bathed in gallery light, Elias's arm a steady weight at his waist. Something shifted in Harlan's gaze. Envy? Longing? He cornered Weston later, breath sour. "This your life now? Parading?" The slur escaped, venomous, and Weston's world fractured anew. "Get out," he whispered, voice steel. Harlan stormed into the night, but not before hissing, "You're still the family's shame." The fallout lingered like Seattle's perpetual gray. Elias held Weston through the sobs, but doubt crept in, whispers that love was fragile, easily shattered by blood ties. Weston pulled away, sketching alone in coffee-scented dawn, the scar above his eye itching like a warning. Harlan vanished for weeks, radio silent, until a frantic call shattered the quiet. "It's Mom. Stroke. Come home. West. Please." The drive to Spokane was a blur of interstate and regret. Elias at the wheel, his hand a lifeline on Weston's knee. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and finality. Mom frail in starched sheets, her eyes flickering recognition. Harlan paced the hall, hollow-cheeked, the weight of secrets pressing. "She asked for you," he muttered. "Always did." In the dim room, Mom's hand trembled in Weston's. "My boy," she breathed, words slurred but sincere. "Forgive us." Tears carved paths down her lined face, and Weston broke, folding into the bed's edge, the years dissolving in salt. Harlan watched from the door, his own grief a mirror, and for the first time, Weston saw the boy beneath, the one who had envied his freedom, feared his truth. But reconciliation is no tidy knot. Back in Seattle, Harlan moved into a studio in Queen and close enough to haunt. He sought therapy, gruff admissions over beers. His own buried attractions, a college fling hushed by fear, the divorce a casualty of denial. "I hated you for being honest," he confessed one rainy evening on Weston's balcony. "City lights smearing below made me face my own cage." Weston listened, the chasm narrowing, but trust rebuilt slow as spring thaw. Elias bridged gaps, inviting Harlan to drag brunches where mimosas loosened tongues, stories weaving into tapestries of shared survival. Yet betrayal lurked, a serpent in the garden. Harlan, in a moment of weakness, leaked Weston's art. Intimate pieces from his youth, raw confessions of desire. To an old family friend, a conservative pastor back home. The backlash erupted online, trolls swarming Weston's profiles, death threats veiled as prayers. The crisis peaked in a storm-swept night, Weston barricaded in the apartment, Elias shielding him from the digital deluge. "It's him," Weston realized, betrayal blooming cold. Confronting Harlan at his build site, rain lashing like whips, truth spilled, Harlan's shame, his attempt at helping by exposing the problem, a misguided bid to force family reconciliation. Fists clenched, words flew. "You took my room, now my peace?" Until Harlan crumpled, sobbing in the mud. "I wanted to fix us, but I broke you again." Healing unfurled in fragments. Weston channeled rage into a new series, Exiles, installations of shattered mirrors reflecting queer resilience, shown in a Soto warehouse that drew crowds from Portland to Vancouver. Elias stood sentinel, their love deepening in the forge of fire. Lazy mornings tangled in sheets, whispers of forever amid the scent of fresh ink. Harlan entered rehab for his shadows, emerging tentative, letters arriving like olive branches. Sketches of their childhood home, annotated with apologies. Spring arrived with cherry blossoms rioting pink along the avenues, a metaphor for fragile renewal. The brothers met at the locks, salmon leaping upstream in defiant arcs, watching ships navigate the spillway. "I was wrong," Harlan said, voice steady. "You didn't need fixing." "I did." Weston nodded, the scar above his eye catching sun, and pulled him into an embrace. Awkward, profound, the first in years. In the quiet that followed, Weston traced the path forward. Not erasure of pain, but integration, scars as maps. Elias proposed on a ferry to the islands. Ring simple silver, engraved with anchor. The wedding was small, Capitol Hill stoop alive with friends. Rita toasting survival, Harlan best man. His speech halting but heartfelt. "Weston taught me bravery isn't absence of fear, but loving through it." As summer waned, Weston stood on his balcony, Elias asleep within, Harlan's latest letter on the table. News of a boyfriend, tentative steps into light. The city hummed below, a mosaic of lives intersecting, diverging, reconvering. Weston was no longer the boy cast out, but the man who had claimed his narrative, room by reclaimed room. In the end, family was not blood's dictate, but choices forged in rain, tempered by grace. The ferry's horn blasted a farewell as Weston and Elias waved from the deck, the salt wind whipping their scarves like flags of truce. Back on solid ground, the city welcomed them with its familiar drizzle, but something had shifted in Weston's stride. A lightness, as if the weight of old chains had finally rusted through. Harlan's car idled at the terminal, his wave hesitant but genuine, a promise to join them for the rehearsal dinner in 2 weeks. "Don't be late," Weston called, half joking, the words carrying less edge than before. Their apartment buzzed with preparations. String lights draped over exposed beams, wildflowers in mason jars scenting the air with lavender and eucalyptus. Elias, ever the visionary, had sketched invitations on recycled paper, motifs of interlocking waves symbolizing their union. Friends trickled in, queer chosen family from art collectives, baristas turned confidants, each bearing stories of their own odysseys, toasts raising glasses to resilience. Rita arrived with a bottle of mezcal, her laugh booming as she pulled Weston into a bear hug. "Look at you, kid. From shelter bunks to this, you're the damn phoenix." Yet beneath the joy, tendrils of doubt coiled. Late nights, as Elias snored softly beside him, Weston lay awake, staring at the ceiling's water stains like Rorschach tests of the soul. The online storm from Harlan's leak had ebbed, but echoes lingered, Troll's venom seeping into DMs, a gallery in Tacoma canceling a solo show with a curt email citing concerns. He wondered if peace was illusory, a brief intermission before the next act's curtain rose. Elias sensed it, rolling over to press lips to Weston's temple. "We're building, amor. Brick by brick. No one's taking that." Harlan's integration proved a slow dance. He showed up to the art show opening, Exiles transformed into an immersive walkthrough. Mirrors cracked but mended with gold kintsugi, audio loops of rain and reclaimed laughter. Harlan wandered the space, his reflection multiplying in shards, face paling at a piece titled Brother's Shadow. A silhouette devouring a smaller figure, painted in stormy grays. He cornered Weston afterward, amid the clink of wine glasses and indie folk strumming. "That one's me, huh?" Voice rough but eyes earnest. Weston nodded, throat tight. It was. Now it's just memory. Harlan bought the piece, insisting on framing it in his studio as reminder. Therapy sessions Harlan dragged him to, mandatory for their fragile bridge, unraveled more. In a Belltown office with fern views, the counselor, a soft-spoken man named Theo with a rainbow pin on his lapel, coaxed confessions. Harlan admitted the college fling. A roommate in Pullman, stolen nights after football games, ended in panic when whispers spread. "I buried it deep," he said, fists balled. "Married Sarah to prove I could. But it ate me watching you live free." Weston shared his own scars, the park bench vigils, the terror of invisibility. Sessions ended in exhausted silences, but seeds took root. Shared hikes in Discovery Park, where trails wound through Madrona groves, conversations turning from accusations to anecdotes. Elias wove through it all, his graphic work booming with commissions for queer nonprofits. Late hours at his drafting table offset by stolen kisses in the kitchen. Their intimacy deepened, exploratory and tender. Nights where bodies mapped forgiveness, hands tracing the landscapes of hurt and healing. "You're my horizon," Elias murmured once, post-climax glow painting them in moonlight, the city a distant lullaby below. But life, in its American sprawl, rarely cedes ground without a fight. Mom's health rallied unevenly. A second stroke sidelined her in assisted living, bills piling like autumn leaves. Harlan shouldered most, wiring checks from his foreman pay, but resentment simmered. Dad left debts, he grumbled over a family Zoom. Mom's pixelated smile a fragile anchor. Weston offered to help, dipping into art sales, but Harlan waved it off. "Your life's your own now." The words a velvet barb. The wedding day dawned crystalline, rare Seattle sun gilding the venue. A reclaimed warehouse in Georgetown, graffiti murals framing vows. Weston stood at the altar, heart hammering, Elias approaching in a tailored linen suit, eyes locked like lifelines. Harlan, in a borrowed tie, read a poem E. Cummings, I carry your heart. Voice cracking on the bridge, tears unashamed. Vows exchanged, rings and promises. In rain or radiance, I choose you. The reception spilled into laughter. A playlist of Rufus Wainwright and Hosier pulsing, dances blurring guests into a joyful haze. Honeymoon called them to the San Juan Islands. Cabins on Orcas, kayaks slicing emerald bays, seals basking on rocks like ancient sages. Disconnected, they shed skins. Weston sketching Elias napping in hammocks, charcoal capturing the curve of his lashes. Elias photographing Weston at tide pools, fingers probing anemones with childlike wonder. This is us, Elias said. One evening by driftwood fire, stars pricking the velvet sky. Unbroken. Weston believed it then, the past a distant echo. Return thrust them into rhythm's resumption. Weston's gallery representation landed. A progressive space in Pioneer Square, scouting for his next series. Reclamations, portraits of queer elders in the city, faces weathered but luminous. Elias's designs graced album covers for a rising electronica duo, gigs pulling him to festivals in Joshua Tree. Harlan dated cautiously. A contractor named Miles, broad-shouldered and bookish, met at a homebrew meetup. Dinners quadrupled. For men around Weston's table, stories overlapping like puzzle pieces. Miles's coming out in rural Idaho, Harlan's guarded thaw. Yet the serpent stirred anew. An anonymous email hit Weston's inbox. Screenshots of Harlan's therapy notes, pilfered somehow, detailing Weston's instability post-leak, painted as cautionary for Miles. Paranoia bloomed. Had Harlan leaked again, in a bid to sabotage his own happiness? Confrontation erupted at a Ballard brewpub, Amber Alesh untouched. Was it you? Weston demanded, voice low thunder. Harlan paled, denying hotly, but doubt's poison spread. Miles pulled back, Harlan spiraling into isolation, blaming Weston's drama. The rift widened, pulling Elias into mediation's crossfire. Blood or chosen? He asked Weston one night, hurt etching his features. Both, Weston insisted, but actions lagged. He ghosted Harlan's calls, poured fury into canvas. Violent slashes of crimson, figures rent asunder. The series veered dark, scaring his agent. Too raw, Wes. Dial it back. Shows faltered. A review in The Stranger dubbing it trauma porn. Sales dipping. Crisis crested in a downpour. Weston wandering Fremont's trolls at midnight, soaked and seething. Elias found him there, umbrella a futile shield, pulling him into a cab home. We fight for us, Elias said, toweling Weston's hair. Their lovemaking a reclaiming, fierce, then gentle bodies affirming what words fumbled. Dawn brought resolve. A letter to Harlan, unsealed on the stoop. We're mirrors, brother. Cracked, but whole. Meet me halfway. Harlan's reply came swift. A knock at noon, Miles in tow, faces etched with apology. The leak? A disgruntled ex-therapist aide, axed for breaches, Harlan's file collateral. Proof flashed on phones, tensions deflating like punctured tires. They talked for hours, coffee cooling, confessions cascading. Harlan's fear of losing Miles echoing old terrors, Weston's armor cracking to reveal the boy who missed his brother. Rebuilding accelerated. Joint therapy with Theo, for voices harmonizing discord. Harlan and Miles hosted barbecues in their queen and yard, grills smoking ribs while pride flags fluttered. Weston's reclamations evolved, incorporating Harlan's sketches, duets of memory, brotherly hands piecing fractured portraits. A joint exhibit in Soto sold out, critics praising the familial alchemy. Summer swelled, ferries laden with revelers to pride. Weston and Elias marched, Harlan and Miles beside, rainbows arcing overhead as drums thrummed. In the throng, Weston caught Harlan's eye, a nod passing, silent vow of endurance. Elias squeezed his hand, whispering, "Our story's just beginning." As leaves turned, Weston reflected from his studio, brushes idle. Life's tapestry wove imperfect. Mom's calls frail but frequent. A new nephew on Harlan's horizon with Miles. Pain lingered, a faint ache, but it fueled rather than felled. In America's vast, varied heart, from Seattle's mists to unspoken dreams, Weston had found not erasure, but expansion. Love as verb, family as verb, self as verb unending. Autumn's palette deepened, golds and crimsons carpeting the sidewalks of Capitol Hill as Weston navigated the post-exhibit high. The joint show with Harlan had not just sold. It sparked interviews, podcasts from queer media outlets, a feature in Seattle Weekly framing their work as fraternal redemption in pigment and line. Reporters probed gently. How did betrayal transmute to brotherhood? Weston, microphone warm in hand, spoke truths honed sharp. It's not linear. It's loops, falling back to rise wiser. Harlan, beside him in the studio shot, added gruffly, he's the map I just followed. Elias thrived in the ripple, his designs licensing for a documentary on Pacific Northwest queerness, travel pulling him to Portland for shoots. Mornings alone, Weston savored the quiet, brewing pour-overs with beans from Ethiopian co-ops, journaling fragments of dreams where rain dissolved barriers. Their intimacy evolved too, less urgent, more exploratory, weekends in bed mapping erogenous zones with feathers and whispers, laughter punctuating gasps. Harlan's world steadied. Miles, with his library science degree and penchant for craft beers, grounded him. They adopted a rescue mutt named Scout, a wiry terrier who bounded into family gatherings like a furry ambassador. Dinners became tradition. Potlucks at Weston's, where Rita regaled with shelter lore, Mom joining via video from Spokane, her smile brighter with each passing month. My boys, she'd say, voice quavering, together again, yet undercurrents tugged. Weston's agent pitched a book deal, Exiles as graphic memoir, illustrated with Harlan's input. Excitement warred with trepidation. Bearing soul on pages felt like stripping for stadiums. Elias championed it. Your voice could light paths we didn't have. Harlan wavered, old insecurities surfacing in late-night texts. What if it drags us back? Sessions with Theo unpacked it, fear of exposure, the addict's reflex to hoard shadows. Winter crept in, holidays looming like loaded canvases. Thanksgiving gathered them at a rented cabin in the Snoqualmie Valley. Evergreens bowing under first snows. Turkeys roasted, yams candied, but tension simmered when Dad's old Bible surfaced in Mom's luggage. Gift intended, but laced with scripture Harlan read aloud, voice faltering on Leviticus verses. Silence blanketed the table, forks scraping plates. Weston rose, plate untouched. Love isn't verse, it's verb. He stepped into the crisp night, breath fogging, Elias following to wrap arms around him under stars pricking the black. Harlan joined later, Bible in hand, pages torn free. Burn it? He offered, half-jest. They did, flames devouring ink in the fire pit, sparks rising like freed prayers. Mom watched from the porch, tears freezing on cheeks, whispering, enough ghosts. The night turned to stories, childhood escapades in Montana visits, Dad's rare laughs over fishing lines, reweaving bonds with laughter's thread. Christmas brought expansion. Mom discharged to a Seattle facility nearer, her apartment in Westlake a sunlit haven with views of the monorail zipping like silver veins. Harlan and Miles hosted tree-strung with LED orbs and heirlooms, Weston's childhood ornament, a clay handprint, dangling beside Elias's first design sketch. Gifts exchanged. Weston gifting Harlan a custom sketchbook, leather-bound, inscribed, for the brave lines ahead, reciprocated with a vintage camera, lens capturing light's nuances. Elias filmed it all, a home movie for posterity. New Year dawned with resolutions whispered over champagne. Weston vowing vulnerability in the memoir, Harlan committing to openness with Miles's family. A conservative clan in Yakima, Thanksgiving trial by fire planned. Elias aimed for work-life balance, promising fewer overnights away. Resolutions held tenuously. February's gray tested them. A blizzard blanketed the city. Flights grounded. Elias stranded in LA for a pitch meeting. Alone, Weston spiraled. Old anxieties gnawing, the apartment echoing with absence. Harlan checked in, shoveling Weston's walk unasked, Scout bounding through snowdrifts. They holed up with hot toddies, flipping through memoir drafts. Harlan's illustrations complemented. Stark lines softening into curves, symbolizing thaw. "You're the heart," he said, charcoal smudging fingers. "I'm just the frame." Vulnerability cracked open. Harlan confessing panic attacks post-mom's health scares. Therapy's lifeline. Weston shared nightmares of expulsion. Rain-soaked flights recurring. Brotherhood solidified in that snowbound vigil. A pact sealed with raised mugs. Spring unfurled tentatively. Cherry blossoms defiant against late frosts. The memoir deal inked. Deadline looming like a horizon. Weston wrote feverishly. Chapters bleeding confession. The diner's refuge. Elias's kiss as salvation. Harlan's betrayal as crucible. Elias read drafts aloud by Lake Union. Paddle boarders slicing water. His feedback gentle. "Lean into joy. It's your strength." Harlan contributed forward. Words halting but profound. "I took his room, but he claimed my soul." Mid-spring, crisis revisited in softer guise. Miles's family gathering in Yakima unfolded disastrously. Stone silences at the table, probing questions veiling judgment. Harlan fled early, driving through Cascades passes in tears, crashing at Weston's unannounced. "They see me as you were broken." Weston held him through the night, Elias brewing chamomile, their bed a trinity of solace. Dawn brought plans. Boundaries with Miles's kin, perhaps distance. Miles arrived by noon, apologetic, vowing mediation. The incident scarred but spurred growth. Harlan advocating at work for inclusive policies. Miles joining a local PFLAG chapter. Summer hummed with momentum. Pride swelled the streets. Float's thundering bass. Bodies painted in spectrum glory. Weston and Elias renewed vows impromptu in the parade. Confetti raining like blessings. Harlan snapping photos. Miles whooping beside. Post-march barbecues on Alki Beach. Waves lapping grills. Stories cascading under gulls' cries. The memoir launch loomed in fall. A reading at Elliott Bay Book Company. Crowded shelves. Espresso aroma mingling with nerves. Attendees packed the space. Rita front row. Mom wheeled in by aides, beaming. Weston read the expulsion chapter. Voice steady. Rain metaphor alive in the room's hush. Applause thundered. Signings stretching late. Strangers sharing kin stories. Catharsis collective. Reviews poured golden. "A testament to queer kinship's forge," proclaimed one. Sales climbed. Tours beckoning to San Francisco, Chicago. Harlan's illustrations garnered notice. A side gig illustrating for a trans youth anthology. Elias's film of the launch went viral in niche circles, collaborations flowering. Yet humanity's arc bends uneven. Mom's decline accelerated. Dementia creeping. Memories fragmenting like puzzle edges lost. Hospice talk surfaced. Family huddling in her sunroom. Hands linked. "I've made peace," she murmured, eyes distant but loving. Weston read to her from the memoir, voice faltering on brotherly chapters. Harlan sketching her portrait. Soft lines capturing essence ere it faded. Her passing came gentle, autumn leaves drifting outside the window. A final exhale as rain pattered panes. Funeral small, in a non-denominational chapel overlooking the sound. Eulogies weaving her contradictions. Faith's fervor tempered by late grace. Harlan spoke last, voice breaking. "She cast no one out in the end. Taught us welcome." Graveside, under evergreens, they scattered Montana soil roots reclaiming. Grief cloaked them, holidays hollow. Weston channeled it into echoes. A series of Mom's portraits, ethereal washes blending her face with landscapes loved. Elias curated a memorial show, proceeds to LGBTQ elder care. Harlan withdrew briefly, Miles anchoring, but emerged with a tattoo. Her handwriting, "Love wins," inked on forearm. Winter thawed to tentative spring, life insisting forward. Weston's tours wrapped triumphant. Chicago's skyline inspiring new sketches. Urban spires as spines of resilience. Elias landed a feature doc deal, filming queer families across the heartland. Harlan and Miles announced adoption plans. fostering a teen named Jordan, androgynous and artistic, echoes of youth. On a balmy June eve, Weston stood with Elias at Gasworks Park, kites dancing against relic towers, Harlan and Miles nearby with Jordan tossing frisbee. Laughter rang, a symphony earned. Weston traced Elias's palm, rings glinting. "We made it," he whispered. Elias smiled, eyes horizon deep. "And keep making." In America's mosaic, flawed, fierce, Weston saw not endpoint, but expanse. Love's verb conjugating infinities, family a verb of endless tenses. The kites dipped and soared like liberated thoughts as the sun dipped toward the Olympics, painting the sky in strokes Weston itched to capture. Jordan, all lanky limbs and dyed blue tips, chased the frisbee with scout-nipping heels, his laughter a bright counterpoint to the park's relic gas holders, rusted sentinels of industry's fade. Harlan clapped Jordan's back, pride softening his features, Miles snapping candids with the vintage camera Weston had gifted. "Family photo shoot?" Elias teased, arms slung around Weston's waist, the casual intimacy a balm against encroaching dusk. Evenings like this stitched normalcy, but grief's undercurrent rippled. Mom's absence echoed in small voids, unanswered voicemails, empty chair at potlucks. Weston filled them with Jordan's company. The kid, 16 and freshly out, gravitated to his studio, fingers smudged with pastels as they co-debated color theory. "How do you paint loss without drowning?" Jordan asked once, eyes earnest behind wire frames. Weston paused, brush hovering. "You let it bleed, then layer light." The adoption formalized in July, a courthouse ceremony understated but profound. Jordan chose River as middle name, evoking the Columbia's flow, papers signed amid tears and takeout foe. Celebrations spilled to Weston's apartment, balloons bobbing, Rita toasting with plastic flutes. To chosen currents, Harlan pulled Weston aside later, voice thick. "Couldn't have without you, bro. You showed the way." Embrace lingered, scars brushing scars. Elias's documentary ramped, scouting in flyover states, Omaha diners, Tulsa porches, interviews with couples weathering heartland storms. He returned sun-kissed, stories spilling over diner pancakes. A farmer's husband quiet defiance, a librarian's archive of hidden histories. "Your memoir inspired them," he said, foot-hooking Weston's under table. Their nights reignited passion's spark. Role-play fantasies drawn from road tales, silk ties and whispered commands, bodies rediscovering hunger's edge. Weston's practice flourished. Echoes toured to LA's Hammer Museum, critics lauding lyrical elegy for maternal metamorphosis. A fellowship followed, residency at Pilchuck Glass School north of the city, where he experimented with fused panels. Mom's silhouette etched in molten sand, rain motifs fracturing light. Harlan visited, hands calloused on torches, their collaboration birthing a piece. Dual panels interlocking, brotherhood in silica. Fall brought Jordan's integration tests. High school hallways proved battlegrounds. Slurs scrawled on lockers, gym coaches turning blind eyes. Harlan fumed at PTA meetings, Miles drafting complaint letters, but Jordan internalized, sketches darkening to thorns. Weston mentored. Afternoons in the studio dissecting Van Gogh swirls. Madness as muse, not monster. One session, Jordan confessed a crush, classmate Theo, non-binary artist with septum ring. "What if it's unrequited?" Weston shared Elias tales, the spilled pastry's fate. "Ask. Rejection's just redirection." Jordan's courage peaked at a school open mic, poem unmoored raw verse of drift and dock. Theo attended, post-reading coffee leading to handholds under stadium lights. Harlan teared up recounting, over beers at the Pike Brewing. "Kids braver than me at that age." Weston clinked bottles. "Runs in the family now." Winter holidays reshaped Sans mom's anchor. They rotated. Thanksgiving at Elias's abuela's in a suburb echo of LA warmth. Tamales steaming, TIA's quizzing wedding plans. Christmas with Miles's kin in Yakima proved thaw. Initial stiffness melting over pie. An aunt's quiet welcome cracking Harlan open. New Year's at a Fremont bonfire. Resolutions scrawled on paper, Torch to ash. Weston's embrace flux. Elias's root deeper. Spring 2026 bloomed with milestones. Jordan's art accepted to a youth expo. Weston guest judging. Pride swelling as ribbons pinned. Elias's doc premiered at SIFF. Red carpet nerves quelled by Weston's steady hand. Standing ovation affirming intimate epic of endurance. Harlan proposed site-wide DEI training at his firm. Miles facilitating sessions. Ripple affecting colleagues' closets creaking open. Yet equilibrium teeters. A gallery dispute arose. Weston's LA show, Echoes, accused of cultural appropriation by an activist tweetstorm. Motifs deemed exploitative elegy. Backlash stung. Sales halted. Doubts whisper. Am I fraud? Elias rallied supporters. Harlan penning a defense op-ed for local press. Art's ache is universal. Resolution came in dialogue. A panel with the critic, voices bridging to mutual respect. Exhibit resuming with contextual plaques. Jordan's romance flowered then faltered. Theo's family relocated abruptly. Cross-country job pull. Leaving Jordan adrift in breakup's tide. Nights of ice cream and indie films at Weston's, Elias baking empathy cookies. Hearts mend mosaic, Weston advised. Piecing a collage from Theo's gifted zine. Harlan and Miles held space. Family therapy weaving Jordan tighter into fold. Summer solstice marked their 3rd anniversary. Elias planned surprise. Hot air balloon over the Palouse. Wheat fields undulating gold below. Picnic basket with caviar and craft ciders. Mid-air, he knelt anew. Not ring but vow renewal scroll. Penned in their hands. Through tempests, tethered. Weston, wind-teased hair. Affirmed with kiss, horizon endless. Post-landing, reality intruded. Harlan's firm downsized. Layoff notice abrupt. Construction's boom-bust cycle biting. Miles's library grant faltered. Budget cuts slashing hours. Jordan's tuition loomed for art magnet program. Weston offered studio space for Harlan's freelance illustrating. Elias connecting Miles to doc production gigs. But strain showed arguments over dinner divides. Finances fraying tempers. Crisis coalesced in August heat wave. City sweltering. Tempers flaring. Harlan snapped at Jordan over curfew. Words echoing old paternals. Under my roof. Jordan stormed out. Backpack slung. Echoing Weston's expulsion youth. Panic surged. Searches through humid nights. Posters wheat-pasted on poles. Found at Golden Gardens. Bench perch. Sketching waves. Felt like you, he admitted, charcoal trembling. Harlan apologized profusely. Therapy doubling. Family pact renewed. No cast-outs. Healing accelerated. Group hikes in Olympics. Backpacks heavy with sandwiches. Conversations cresting peaks. Weston's new series Tethers emerged. Fiber installations. Ropes knotted from recycled sails. Symbolizing bonds strained but strong. Collaborative with Jordan's textiles. Harlan's welds. Elias's projections. Multimedia testament. Fall-cooled fevers. Harlan landed illustration contract for a graphic novel on labor rights. Miles promoted to archivist. Jordan thrived in magnet. Theo letters evolving to visits. Mom's headstone dedication small. Wildflowers laid. Toasts to her grace. As leaves spiraled, Weston reflected in journal. Pains not eradicated, but contextualized. Teacher, not tyrant. With Elias beside it window, city twinkling, he traced future lines. Perhaps kids, via surrogacy or adoption. Travels to Mexico for Elias's roots. Endless creating. In the grand American narrative. Diverse, discordant, defiant. Weston's arc illuminated. Redemption not destination, but daily devotion. Love's grammar ever conjugating. Leaves skittered across the pavement like whispered secrets as Weston and Elias strolled through Volunteer Park. Conservatory's dome glinting like a glass promise against the overcast sky. Jordan loped ahead, earbuds in, syncing steps to a playlist of synthwave that Elias had curated for his birthday. 17 now, taller than Harlan. His presence a bridge between generations. Harlan and Miles trailed. Scout leashed. debating craft beer merits with the fervor of converts. The air held that crisp edge, prelude to rain, Seattle's eternal underscore. Weston's mind wandered to the Adoption Expo last weekend. Booths teeming with kids' faces, stories scrawled in crayon. He and Elias had lingered, fingers laced, imagining a nursery in their expanding loft, walls splashed with murals of distant shores. Soon, Elias had murmured, eyes alight. Weston nodded, the word yes a seed planted deep. Back home, the loft, newly acquired in Eastlake, with views of Lake Union's houseboats bobbing like nomadic dreams, hummed with life. Weston's studio occupied the sunroom, easels arrayed like sentinels, canvases leaning in various undress. Elias's drafting table anchored the living room, screens glowing with edits for his doc sequel, now greenlit for national distribution. Harlan crashed occasionally, portfolio spread on the kitchen island, Jordan tagging along for uncle lessons in shading techniques. Tether's installation debuted to acclaim at the Fry Art Museum, ropes suspending gallery space, lights casting not shadows that danced like narratives untold. Critics raved, a visceral vocabulary of connection. Jordan's textile contributions, woven panels of recycled denim, embroidered with queer icons, earned scholarships, his confidence blooming like blackberries along I-5. Harlan's graphic novel progressed, panels penciled in late nights, Miles typing scripts beside. Themes resonated. Workers' closets cracking under union banners, parallels to their own labors of love. A launch party planned for spring, invites extended to the family web Rita, Theo the counselor, even Miles's thawing aunt. Winter wrapped gentle this year, holidays layered with new rituals. Solstice circle in the loft, candles flickering, each sharing gratitudes. Jordan for Theo's return visits, Harlan for steady gigs, Miles for library expansions, Elias for festival nods, Weston for the collective's weave. Gifts handmade, Weston's locket portraits, Elias's custom journals. New Year brought bold strokes. Elias's doc aired on PBS, ratings spiking, panels at universities from Berkeley to Boston. Weston tagged along to one in Chicago, Windy City's architecture fueling sketches. Skylines as spines, resilient against gusts. Harlan joined remotely, Jordan presenting a segment on youth artivism, voice steady on camera. Spring surged with Jordan's senior project, a mural for a Capitol Hill youth center, roots rewoven, vines linking diverse figures in embrace. Weston consulted colors, Harlan scaffold heights, Elias documented time-lapse. Unveiling drew crowds, Mayor clipping ribbon, Jordan's speech halting but heartfelt. Family isn't given, it's grown. Yet growth invites pruning. Elias's acclaim pulled offers, Hollywood development deals, relocations hinted. Just visits, he assured, but Weston's gut twisted, echoes of past abandonments. Arguments simmered. Your art's here. Weston pressed over stir-fry. Elias sighed. Ours is everywhere. Mediation in Theo's office unpacked. Fears of replication, exile's scar. Compromise. Pilot seasons, home base Seattle. Harlan faced parallel pull. Graphic novel buzz attracted NYC publisher scouts. Tours tempting. Stay grounded, Miles urged, but Harlan chafed, old wanderlust stirring. Jordan mediated, teen wisdom sharp. Go, but tether back. Harlan tested a signing in Portland, nerves jangling, but acclaim anchored, fans queuing for sketches, messages of resonance. Summer solstice marked Jordan's graduation, caps airborne in the school gym, Theo in audience clutching roses. Party at the locks, salmon runs mirroring leaps, toasts to futures. Jordan announced art school acceptance, RISD, Rhode Island's promise. Bittersweet exodus loomed, but family vowed visits, video calls as lifelines. Weston and Elias dove into surrogacy waters, agency meetings in sterile offices, profiles reviewed. Matches flickered, hopes tease until Lena, a teacher from Tacoma, connected. Conversations flowed, shared values aligning. Insemination scheduled with clinical calm masking heart's race. Fall's pallet returned, Jordan packing dorm-bound, loft echoing his absence. Send-off barbecue tear-streaked, Scout whining. Call daily, Harlan gruffed. Miles slipping care packages. Jordan hugged Weston last. You taught mapping. I'll chart mine. Emptiness settled, filled by anticipation. Lena's pregnancy confirmed. Heartbeats whoosh on ultrasound, a symphony starter. Elias teared, hand on belly. Our verse begins. Weston sketched ultrasounds, abstract miracles. Tethers evolved to touring installation. Legs in San Francisco's Yerba Buena. Crowds immersing in rope webs. Harlan illustrated companion book. Jordan contributing youth essay. Launch event queer-lit. Readings under suspended strands. Bonds palpable. Winter holidays nested domestic. Nursery painted sage and azure. Mobiles of glass orbs catching light. Mom's ornaments dangle, memories orbiting. Solstice gratitude circle swells with Lena's name. Her updates texts of kicks and cravings. New Year dawns with news. Twins. Double heartbeat, double joy, double the forge ahead. Elias's pilot shoots balance with prenatal yoga. Weston's studio yields to cribs, brushes idle but soul full. Spring brings Lena's glow, bump rounding, family showers with onesies rainbowed. Jordan FaceTimes from Providence, sketches of campus life. Theo visits sinking. Yet life's script twists. Harlan's NYC tour extends a week to month, isolation gnawing miles. Come home. Please unheeded, Harlan chasing validations high. Fracture lines appear, late calls, accusations flying. Miles crashes at Weston's, eyes hollow. He's running from roots. Intervention brews. Family call. Theo facilitating. Harlan returns chastened. Tour truncated. Recommitment to Miles in counseling's hold. Chased ghosts, he admits. Found they lead here. Summer swells bellies and bonds. Lena's due date nears, hospital bags packed. Labor hits midnight. Rain lashing windows. Elias pacing. Weston breathing mantras. Dawn births them. Luca and Mira. Cries harmonizing. Tiny fists clutching air. Holding Luca, Weston weeps. Dark hair tuft, Elias's eyes. Mira, Lena's calm gaze, Weston's chin. Harlan arrives, Miles beside, Jordan virtual from dorm. Auntie and uncle, Jordan jokes, tears pixelating. Nights blur to feeds and folds, loft alive with coups. Elias juggles shoots, Weston diapers and doodles, Harlan babysits shifts. Jordan summers home for uncle duties. Family expands, verbs multiplying. Nurture, navigate, nest. As autumn hints, Weston rocks Mira. Luca asleep on Elias's chest. Harlan sketching trio portraits. Pain's archive fades, supplanted by presence. Love's lexicon ever appending. American dream reimagined in cries and canvases. Endless. The nursery's night light cast a soft galaxy across the ceiling. Stars winking as if in conspiracy with the twins' size. Luca fussed intermittently. A rhythm Weston had memorized like a favorite melody. While Mira slumbered deep, her tiny chest rising in perfect cadence. Elias snored faintly from the rocker, one arm cradling a sketchpad where he doodled their faces in repose. Charcoal smudges framing the miracle of them. Down the hall, the loft's main room held Harlan's latest delivery. A wooden mobile of carved whales, suspended from the beam, tails arcing in silent song. Parenthood reshaped time's flow, days elastic with feedings and folds. Nights portals to profound fatigue laced with awe. Weston adapted, trading canvas hours for burp cloths, his art shifting to miniatures. Pocket portraits of Luca's gummy grins, Myra's fist curls, inked on cardstock for family mailings. Elias balanced it masterfully. Remote edits for the doc series interspersed with tummy times. His abuela mailing care packages of embroidered blankets and spice rubs for midnight cravings. Harlan and Miles became fixtures, rotations of relief. Harlan constructing playpens from reclaimed lumber. Miles curating board books on diverse families. Jordan, home for breaks, regaled with RIS details. Supply closets raided for midnight projects. Theo's long-distance letters bundled like talismans. They're perfect, Jordan cooed over Luca. fingers tracing nose. Mini MES of you both. Lena visited weekly, her teacher's poise undimmed by surrogacy's gift, bonding over teas in the sunroom. They're ours but echoes of you, she said, Mira in lap. Weston thanked her anew, words inadequate for the bridge she'd built. Fall deepened, twins 3 months, rolling toward milestones. Weston's solo exhibit nursery rhymes, abstracts inspired by lullabies, swirls of blue and gold, hung at a Georgetown co-op, strollers parked at doors. Harlan's illustrations for a children's lit submission wove in whales and waves narrating adoption arcs. Acclaim trickled, local mag features, parent groups buzzing. Elias's series Emmy nominated, buzz pulling invites to LA galas. Family first, he vowed, but shoots extended, hotel nights fraying edges. Weston solo-parented stretches, twins tag team cries testing resolve, resentment bubbling unspoken. We're a team, Elias soothed on returns, but Weston journaled doubts. Is expansion dilution? Harlan sensed over coffee runs to Victrola. Parenting's a solo duet sometimes. His own home steadied, Miles's promotion funding renovations, a backyard studio for Jordan's visits. But Harlan confessed strains. Work's grind, Miles's travel for conferences, intimacy's ebb. Like we're roommates with kids, he joked bitterly. Therapy renewed, couple sessions with Theo, rediscovering spark in date nights at jazz dens. Winter blanketed with wonder. Twins' first snow, bundled in carriers, flakes dusting lashes as they gazed from Alki. Holidays amplified, solstice with extended kin, Lena's family joining, tables groaning under multicultural feasts. Gratitude circle lengthened. Luca's first laugh, Myra's grabby hands, Jordan's internship at a Providence gallery. New Year birth resolutions tempered by realism. Weston's carve couple time. Elias's delegate dreams. Quarterly retreats planned. Babysitters booked. Weekends in cabins where bodies reconnected. Whispers reclaiming space. Spring tiptoed. Twins crawling chaos. Loft gates improvised from easel bars. Jordan's spring break mural project. Community garden wall in Central District. Vines bearing fruit of unity. Twins in backpacks, Weston assisting pigments, Harlan hauling supplies, Elias filming for socials. Yet tempests brew domestic. Elias's Emmy win. Surprise ceremony in LA. Necessitated flight. Weston demurring with colic flares. Go, he urged, masking ache. Elias's absence stretched. Calls clipped by jet lag. Twins' fevers spiking solo. Resentment crested on return. I need you here, not highlights. Words wounded. Couch exile for Elias. Mediation via Theo's Zoom. Unpacking provider roles. Parenthood's pivot. Healing hummed in small acts. Elias trading producer credits for local edits. Weston hiring a nanny share with Lena's circle. Date nights resumed. Picnics at Green Lake. Paddleboats rocking as twins napped shoreside. Summer solstice 4 years wed. Twins teething tyrants. Anniversary escape to San Juan's. Harlan and Miles minding. Jordan assisting with whale tails. Orcas kayaked. Sunsets sipped rose. Vows whispered on beaches. Through cries and calms, chosen. Return to expansion. Weston's fellowship renewal at Pilchuck. Glass-blowing with twins in slings. Molten forms echoing family fuses. Harlan's lit debut. Tidal ties. Children's book on sibling seas. Illustrated warmly. Readings at Elliott Bay drawing families. Fall's harvest brought Jordan home permanent. Internship evolved to assistant curatorship at Seattle Art Fair. Theo relocated to grad school at UW. Apartment shares with Jordan tentative. Roommates with benefits? Jordan quipped, Harlan groaning. Winter deepened bonds. Twins' first words. Dada. Dual choruses. Melting Harlan to mush. Holidays with Lena's brood. Twins toddling amid cousins. Chaos choral. But equilibrium quivers. Miles's conference in D.C. overlaps Harlan's book tour east. Dual absences straining Jordan's solo parenting stretch. Calls frantic. Weston bridging with drop-ins. But fractures show. Jordan's overwhelm boiling to outburst. You're all leaving me adrift. Storm breaks. Family summit at Discovery Park. Blankets spread. Truths unpacked. Harlan cuts tour short. Miles delegates panels. Jordan vents. Support shored. Therapy teen group. Art as outlet. Weston shares expulsion parallel. Elias films a short on multigenerational care. Spring renews. Twins walk wobbles. Loft echoing giggles. Weston's versus series. Poetic abstracts. Tours to NYC. Harlan tagging for signings. Jordan curates youth wing. Theo collaborating. Summer swells with beach days. Twins building sandcastles. Jordan and Theo hand in hand. Solstice circle affirms. Luca's mama to Lena visit. Myra's hugs fierce. As leaves hint gold, Weston cradles Luca. Elias Mira, Harlan sketches, Jordan snaps. Life's verb tenses forward. Nurture now. Navigate next. American saga of souls entwined. Endless emendation. Golden lights slanted through the nursery blinds, gilding the twins' curls as they stacked blocks into tottering towers. Luca's determined grunts harmonizing with Myra's gleeful claps. Weston watched from the doorway, coffee mug warm in hands. The loft's morning hush broken only by Elias's shower hummed down the hall. 4 years into fatherhood, these vignettes felt like stolen frames from a film he never tired of directing. Imperfect cuts, but rich with color. Elias emerged towel-clad, scooping Mira for raspberries on toes, laughter bubbling as Luca toddled after. Breakfast brigade, Elias announced, herding them to high chairs where purees awaited, spoons aeroplaning through air. Weston joined, tag-teaming wipes and burps, the routine a choreography honed by trial and tenderness. Harlan arrived mid-morning, tool belt slung, for crib reinforcements, twins climbing exploits demanding upgrades. Miles followed with coffee carriers, Jordan and Theo trailing, fresh from a dawn yoga class at the lake. The loft transformed to hub. Blocks scattered, sketchpads unfurled, Theo reading, where the wild things are in theatrical tones. Max sails home, Theo intoned, Jordan's arm casual around waist. The pair's ease a model for the twins' wide eyes. Afternoons freed Weston to studio, where verses panels glowed under LEDs. Verses etched in vitreous paint, family motifs swirling. Jordan assisted cataloging, Theo brainstorming titles, their input infusing youth's pulse. Harlan hammered away, Scout gnawing a rawhide, Miles researching grants for community arts. Fall's art fair loomed, Jordan's curation centerpiece. Emerging queer voices, installations interactive. Prep consumed weekends, booth builds in warehouses, twins in playpens amid paint fumes. Elias documented drone shots capturing creative frenzy. His series now Emmy-adjacent with spin-off podcasts. Winter whispered early. Twins bundled for holiday lights at Woodland Park Zoo. Penguins waddling as Luca pointed, fish fly. Mira echoed, mitten hands waving. Solstice feast sprawled. Lena's pozole, Harlan's smoked brisket, Jordan's vegan twists, Theo's mulled cider. Circle shared visions. Weston's East Coast tour, Elias's TEDx talk on visibility, Harlan's sequel plotting. New Year fireworks burst over the sound. Twins ogling from balcony. Family toasting below. Resolutions rooted. Weston's mentor more. Elias's mindful miles. Spring bloom Jordan's fair triumph. Attendance records. Sales funding scholarships. Jordan's speech. Mic in hand. Art anchors the adrift. Theo beamed. Post-event proposal under cherry arches. Rings exchanged. Tears collective. Summer solstice 5 years married. Twins 2. Terrorizing parks with pint-sized anarchy. Anniversary hike in Cascades. Backpack carriers bouncing. Peaks promising panoramas. Vows etched on bark. Ever entwining. But arcs bend. Elias's TEDx Virality Sparks agency offers. Scripted series on queer history. Relocation veiled. Pilot only, he swears, but Weston's radar pings. Past patterns. Discussions deepen. Theo mediating. Ambition and anchor coexist. Compromise. Co-writing from Seattle, visits capped. Harlan's sequel drafts snag. Publisher notes demanding edgier arcs. Clashing his tender tone. Miles encourages. But Harlan doubts. Am I storyteller or soft? Jordan beta reads. Theo edits. Family chorus affirming voice. Twins preschool enrollment tests. Luca's separation wails, Myra's stoic stares. Drop-offs tear Weston. Pickups heal. Teachers praising resilient pair. Fall tours pull Weston east. Verses in MoMA PS1. Harlan joining for Lit Fest. Cities blur. Boston cobblestones. Philly murals. Home calls via video. Twins deadass show. Garbled suite. Winter grips with flu season. Twins tag teaming illness. Loft quarantined. Elias shelves LA Scout. Nursing duty full. Harlan delivers soups. Jordan streams story times. Theo brews teas. Holidays hearthwarm. Twins first cookie bakes. Flower-dusted chaos. Solstice gifts. Custom blocks engraved family names. Spring renews with Jordan's wedding planning. Small, lakeside. Theo's family en route from Philly. Rehearsal dinner at Loft. Toasts to trajectories. Summer wedding unfolds idyllic. Vows under arbors. Twins ring bearers tumbling petals. Dances till dusk. Jordan and Theo honeymoon Portland. Returning bronzed. Loft crash pad. As leaves turn. Twins chatter narratives. Weston pens sequel memoir. Entwined. Elias pitches family doc. Harlan illustrates. Jordan curates excerpts. Life's pages turn. Verbs vivifying. Cherish chaos. Cultivate calm. American Odyssey of orbits overlapping. Infinite.